Thank you, Brad. It is a local race for a senior seat in the Alaska State Legislature, but the race for District 30 has the controversial markings of a much larger race. It
really does. Vying for Kevin Meyer's seat are two Republicans and a Democrat. CBS 11's Grace Chang reports even this local race is not free from the specter of the political corruption trials that have really plagued the state of Alaska. She joins us live in the studio tonight with the report. Grace?
Well, Dave and Laura, that's because one of the candidates worked for a lawmaker currently doing time for extortion and bribery. Another candidate ran against a lawmaker who's now facing charges for conspiracy and bribery. And the third candidate, though not connected to political corruption, has had his run-ins with the law. Kevin Meyer has held this seat for 4 terms. He's leaving to run for state senate. The contenders for his District 30 spot are Republican Sharice Millett, Republican Bruce Webb, and Democrat Linda Zogg. Millett worked as an aide to Vic Coring, the Wasilla lawmaker convicted of taking bribes from VECO officials.
I worked for Vic for a year and a half, and I worked from 7 in the morning till 6 in the evening, and I did his legislative jobs, and I didn't, know anything. That I wasn't involved in the FBI investigation. And
Millett did work on the Oil and Gas Committee. Legislative experience has for the future. She says education is one such investment in the future. And education is an issue her GOP contender Bruce Webb is familiar with. He's run for school board twice, though both times unsuccessfully. Webb's motto?
Be honest and not work for the special interest groups, and just have integrity.
Webb is honest about this, a criminal record that includes charges for trespassing and violating a domestic violence restraining order.
Lori, there's been a misunderstanding. We need to, talk about this before it gets out of control. Well, of course, she did. We talked about it, and she realized that it was all a misunderstanding, so all the charges were dropped.
Those charges were reduced to misdemeanors. As for Democratic contender Linda Zogg, she says her work as a probations officer has formed a basis for her platform, education as prevention.
After 30-some years of working in corrections, is that we have to start thinking about programs and accountability programs within the correctional center. Now, one of the things that we know is that for every additional year of education, there's a corresponding reduction in recidivism rates.
4 years ago, Zogg ran against John Cowdery and lost. The senator currently faces charges for conspiracy and bribery, a situation all the candidates say they plan to avoid by being open and transparent. Whomever wins, it's going to be a large seat to fill, as Kevin Meyer has been a prominent mainstay for nearly a decade. Live in the studio, Grace Chang, CBS 11 News.
All right, thank you, Grace. Well, just days away from the primaries, the Democratic race for Senator Ted Stevens' seat is also heating up. Mayor Mark Begich faces Ray Metcalf, founder of the moderate Republican Party. Metcalf is now running as a Democrat against Begich. He switched, he says, because he has more in common with Democrats on issues than with Republicans. Metcalf also claims he was responsible for exposing the political corruption scandals involving VECO officials. He's now accusing Begich of bribery and favoritism.
I believe that this state is going to see Ted Stevens go to jail. And I also believe that if Mark Begich replaces Ted Stevens, he'll follow right in his footsteps.
I think it's just, again, a classic example of Ray Metcalf, who just continues to throw mud in order to try to propel his campaign into a winning campaign.
And tonight on CBS 11 News at 10, we're going to take you on Metcalf's, quote, tour of corruption. And CBS 11's Grace Chang will have much more on the Democratic contenders and where they stand on issues like energy.